There are a few things you should do before every ride to make the ride more enjoyable, more productive, and most importantly, safer. These are the things I do before every ride. Dress appropriately. This means dressing appropriately for multiple things. Firstly, the weather. It always pays to have a check of the app before you go, but also just sticking your head outside. You'll get better at judging what the weather is for riding the more you ride, but it does pay to be prepared because being too cold or too hot can ruin a good ride. It also pays to keep your options open. I like to go with arm warmers, which you could remove if you get too hot, leg warmers even that you can remove if you get too hot. A gilet is always good because it's a nice shell for your chest without actually making you too warm. And if it looks like it might rain, a rain jacket. Now, even if you don't plan to remove any of this clothing, your arm warmers, your leg warmers, or your rain jacket, it does pay to plan ahead on where you might stash it if you were going to remove it, just to keep your options open. And then there's the appropriate gear for safety. Obviously, a helmet, no matter where you're riding. But then if you are riding on busy roads, probably a rear light is a good idea, and maybe some high-vis clothing, even if it's just a gilet so that you can be seen well. And then a couple more things for safety. You might want to consider some gloves. Now, gloves keep your hands warm. Cold hands don't break very well. And then, of course, there is glasses. Not just a fashion item, getting something in your eye when going down a descent is very dangerous. Next, you want to check your bike. Now, most people go, if there's something wrong, I'll notice in the first mile or so and I can just turn around. But often these things crop up when you're a good few miles from home. So it's worthwhile running through a quick check of your bike. Start with the tires and just give them a quick spin. Check for any nicks, any scrapes, any cuts, or any nails sticking out of them, or even a tiny piece of glass, because as you ride a few miles, that piece of glass can slowly work its way further and further in and leave you punctured just a few miles down the road. And then you want to run through your gears. If you have electronic gears, make sure you check the battery on them. That's something I've been guilty of. I always like to use the saddle on the neck method to run through my gears. Pretty easy. Just check they're all working. And then, of course, check the brakes. It's worthwhile spending a minute or two getting your tyre pressure perfectly dialed for the road surface you're going to ride today. The right tyre pressure adds to your comfort and your speed and can definitely improve the enjoyment of a ride. So it's worth dialing in with a pump before every ride. Next, check your emergency essentials. It's always worth being prepared for the worst. So a card or some cash, a charged phone, your multi-tool, always worth having, and of course, your spares. You definitely want to have these with you, and also check them before you ride, because there is nothing worse than that feeling when you realize you got a flat tire and you have that moment of realization that, oh, I used my spare last week. We've all been there. Next, plan your route. While it is sometimes good to just head out there and see where you end up, a good ride can be ruined by taking a wrong turn and finding yourself on a main road when there was a perfectly pleasant alternate route around the other way. So a quick glance at the maps. I don't always send a full route to my bike computer, but I do take a quick glance at the map and make sure that the loop that I'm doing kind of works before I head out the door. Next, prepare your nutrition. Even if you're going for a short ride, it's always worth taking some fluid. And then I always, even if it is a short ride, take some fuel of some sort, like a gel or a chew. And because I'm prone to blood sugar dips, I generally take a little extra. Now, even if you're going for a short ride, I would suggest you take something in your pockets. But if you're going for a longer ride, it's definitely worth planning your nutrition and making sure you eat earlier rather than getting 2 hours in, realizing you haven't eaten anything, and it's a real struggle to get home. When riding in the wind, it's easy to not feel like you're getting sunburned, but if the sun is shining, definitely remember your sunblock. And then apparently not everyone needs chamois cream, but for those of us that do, forgetting to apply that will definitely hinder your enjoyment of the ride. Finally, before you roll out, tell someone where you're going and when you plan to be back. Now, this always seems unnecessary and overly pessimistic, but it only takes a few seconds and it really does make you safer out there. And that's it. Off for my ride.